Hello everybody, this is JDL Productions, and what I have a video of today is what I would consider one of the most quintessential smoke alarms of the 1980s. This is a first alert, brand new in the box, SA76RD. Now, I haven't actually opened the box yet. As you can see, I did take it out of the original shipping box. I'm trying to look and see if there's a date anywhere on this, but judging by the particular package style, I would presume right off the bat this is probably from either 85 or 86. Now, these units right here are actually what pretty much preceded the first gen SA67D, as this one is right here, even though this one has a white button. This one is from, I believe, 86, 87 actually, as you can see right there. The RD is what came before it, even though they are inherently kind of the same alarm. But they were originally labeled RD, as this one is right here. And these preceded the 76RC, which preceded the RS. So this kind of came out in the kind of the mid 80s, like late 84, early 1985. Not exactly sure when this one in particular is from, but we will just have to find out. So let's go ahead and do that. And there is the original price tag right there. It was originally bought at, it actually doesn't say where it was originally bought, but it was originally bought for $12.97. Which honestly, I'm not sure if that was a lot for the era this came from. But that is when it was, or how much it was originally bought for. I'm not gonna, it looks like there's like something else under this tag. Oh no, it's just like, I don't know. There's just like multiple layers to it. That's kind of weird. I'm not gonna mess with it though. That's kind of preserve the authenticity of it, if you will. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. I'm trying to figure out what the best side is to open this up from. Alright, so hopefully there's not a shit ton of battery corrosion. If there is, oh well. But so first of all, we have got, if I can pull it out, the owner's manual right there. It's got a few other models listed on it. The SA67D, which is kind of odd. I'm pretty sure what the deal was around this time was the white button models were originally labeled SA6070, while they were still making the RD, and then the later RDs, they just kept the 67D label like on these. I don't know. The timeline at this point was a little confusing, but let's go ahead and pull the actual unit out. We also have this right here, one of these registration, one of these warranty cards. I don't see a date on it, but let's go ahead and pull the actual unit out. There it is. Oh, well, hello there. I'm not sure if you guys can see what I see, but I will show you right now that it does indeed have the metal false alarm sensor. Yes, sir. And this one is, as you can see, dated 1985, which I believe is when they stopped using the old slotted metal sensing chamber and then switched to the plastic ones, like on this right here. That is really cool. Okay, I was hoping it would have the false alarm sensor, but I didn't exactly get my hopes up, because I have had experiences where I did, and it ended up not being what I wanted it to be. And there's the battery. It's a little crusty, but not the worst condition one that I've ever came across, a la my FG1000C video from 3 years ago. But now this one's a little interesting. This one's got black printing on the PCB, and it has a clear LED, even though the actual diode in it is red, the kind of outer shell is clear. So yeah, this one's kind of got an interesting PCB style to it. I'm not exactly sure where that PCB style comes in the BRK timeline, because like if we look at this one, like this one, the lettering is red, and this one's also got the clear LED. Yeah, that is very interesting.
There's a shot of the back right there. There's your SA76RD label. Now, here's kind of one interesting thing I noticed. All of the SA76RDs proper did not have any printing on the outside of the cover, like around here on the outer ring. However, when they switched to labeling them as SA6070, they're on almost all of those I've seen, there is printing on the cover, but for some reason, not on the white SA6070s. So that kind of tells you that the white button SA6070s were the original SA67Ds. So that was kind of what they originally were. They all had white buttons, and the RDs were, I guess, the clear button counterpart to them. And then they just started labeling them all as SA6070. So, like I said, it is very interesting. Now, if we take a look on the manual here, there are a couple other models listed. There's also the SA80FD and the SA81D. So, if you don't know what the SA80FD is, that is essentially this alarm right here, but it uses the same style of cover as the old SA80FCs from the early 80s, which were made around the same time as the SA76RC, and they basically used the same internals. So the SA80FD is essentially to this what the 80FC was to the 76RC. And then the SA81D, which is probably the rarest one out of them all, that one is to the SA80FD what the white button SA6070s are to the RDs, as they had white buttons. And there are a couple people that do have those. I can't exactly think of who they are off the top of my head, but I do know a couple people have those. They aren't impossible to find. And then, of course, they would later go on to make after all of the first-gen SA6070s with this larger cover, they would go on to make the very common, even nowadays, second-gen SA6070s. These are so easy to find, even nowadays. And then they also had escape light variants as well, though I think that they kind of started production maybe a little later. The SA125C and the SA130C. And this one was much later. This one was dated, if we can open it up, 1987. And this one, as you can see, does have the lettering on the cover that this one does not have. So I don't know if they were still... What's kind of odd is around the time that they were making the RD, they were... The SA130C, as this one here is, was actually still in production. So, because if we take the cover off, this one is actually dated 1986. So it is kind of odd. So all the escape light units that were made between 85 and 86 all used the 79R/1200 internals, whereas the non-escape light units were using the 83R terminals. So yeah, First Alert's timeline in the 80s was just kind of inconsistent and weird. Like, they seemed to try and recycle components as much as possible, and they kind of switched to making new components once they kind of realized that they're running out of the old components. It was very odd. Very, very odd. And then, of course, as you know, the BRK equivalent to these is the 83R. Uses the same internals, though this one's a little later. This one's from 1988. I didn't even realize that. But this one's from 1988. But they did have early versions, of course, with the false alarm sensor. And then they had the very rare BRK 1201,
which was essentially this with an escape light. Basically the same thing as this. So yeah, very interesting. So I know I've probably gone over the first alert timeline from this era several times in my videos, but I figured I would just kind of reiterate it for the sake of the RD right here. So I've pretty much gone over everything. Let's go find a battery and give this thing a test. So let's see here. I rearranged my entire room this past week, so and I just kind of placed things randomly, and yeah, so it's kind of hard to find stuff, but I did find a battery. Let's go ahead and hook it up. It's probably going to go into alarm. In fact, I can guarantee it's going to go. So that just happened. First actual fail caught on one of my videos for the first time in a while. Yeah, so one of the battery tabs literally just broke off with me barely putting any pressure on it. That actually kind of sucks. I'm not exactly happy that I just did that. Yeah, so this video kind of came with a little bit of a fail. For the first time in quite a while on this channel. I don't even remember the last time I had an incident that happened like that in a video. But yeah, the battery tab just broke off with me barely putting any pressure on it. Just kind of shows you how some of the plastic and the materials they were using to make these units around this time was not exactly the greatest of quality, because that shouldn't have happened with that little pressure on it. But man, that just sucks. I'm gonna try to hopefully glue that back on. I'm gonna find some hot glue and do it, but yeah, that's a little aggravating. I've got to be honest. But anyway, let's go ahead and do the actual test. I'm sure the unit still works. Let's try to not break this other one, even though it probably wouldn't even matter at this point. All right, it didn't go off surprisingly, but let's go ahead and see. Well, there you have it. This one's actually got kind of a lower pitch, actually around the same pitch as this one, surprisingly.